Welcome to Whispers from Within. I'm your host, Katja Aurora, intuitive healer, space holder, and inner wisdom guide, here to share insights from a lifetime of walking between worlds. This is the sacred space where intuition leads, the soul speaks, and ancient wisdom meets everyday life. In each episode, we explore energy, healing, and the human experience, guided by presence, truth, and laughter. Let's listen in and remember who we really are. I stand in the light of truth and love, whole, sovereign, and free. Only what serves the highest good may enter this space. All else dissolves into light. Every word, sound, and silence shared here is carried in clarity, purity, and love. May each listener receive exactly what serves their highest evolution in perfect timing and perfect resonance. This field is sealed, protected, and blessed, and so it is. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'd like to touch on a theme that has been on my mind for a long time. And I come across this a lot because of what I'm doing and what my purpose is in this life as well. It's an integral part of my work here on Earth, and I am seeing a lot of things that might not be the best they could be. And so this podcast in particular is for people that are holding space, that hold space for other people. That could be in a capacity of one-to-one work. That could be in a capacity of group work in any shape or form. It doesn't matter whether it's in person or online. It is still the same process of holding space. Now, this has become a term that is widely used now. But I have the feeling that not a lot of people actually know what holding space means. And being a shaman, a healer, I have a perception of that and have been doing that intuitively for a long time. And I feel it's time to shed a bit of light on that theme and maybe also give some guidance around it. And I will also follow this up with an offering of a workshop on how to hold space properly. Now, every person is unique and every person will do this in a slightly different way. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Where I'm getting a little bit particular about the holding space aspect is when people think that turning up, doing their thing and leaving again is what that means. Holding space is so much more than that. And therefore I want to speak today about the geometry of holding space, because it is a geometry. It's a pattern that you create as you hold space. And even if you have a conversation, that already touches on holding space. So sometimes when we are in a conversation with a friend, we might be holding space for them. So if you know about holding space a little bit more, it might help you in navigating your life in a more conscious and aware way. And this is what I'm hoping I can provide here with this podcast today. And it is really, really dear to my heart, because when you can hold space well, everything that happens in that space is sacred. And it will do exactly what it's meant to be doing. Okay, so let's dive into this theme. I want to invite you, first of all, to take a deep breath with me here and just settle your nervous system a little bit. As I'm recording this, it's still Christmas time, so many of you might still be in that pocket of time where everything is just really intense. We tend to need to get a lot of things done just before Christmas and put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So in this moment, I invite you to just gently allow yourself to take a deep breath and release with the out breath anything and everything that can go in this moment that you no longer need to hold, that is not serving you in this moment right now. My question to you is, regarding this theme of space holding, have you ever wondered why some spaces you enter into, be it a course, a workshop, a retreat, or any other holistic event, or even just a conversation with a friend, right, feel unsettled, unsafe, or chaotic even, while others feel completely safe, warm, and inviting? Ever wondered that? What's the difference? Right? So, holding space, as I have said before, is not simply showing up, doing the thing, and leaving again. It is so much more than that. It's not your vigilance either that holds the space. So it's not your doing either that holds the space. It's the geometry you set in motion. And that's what I want to explain in this podcast. So it makes a huge difference when you are holding classes, when you have workshops going, when you are imparting knowledge to other people or want to facilitate healing for others, that you become aware of the space that you're doing this in. So if until now you've done these things, but you've never really thought about the space that you're creating as you do them, that's a vital piece you might want to pay attention to. So it's what I mean by holding space. In a nutshell, it's the intentional opening and the coherent closing of your space. So that is almost like creating a field that then makes the deep inner work much more potent in that field, as well as creating a lovely atmosphere to work within. So if you have ever taken part in a ceremony, say a mushroom ceremony, for example, or a workshop or a course, and you've encountered chaotic energies, mind you, that's not always the case, but there's exceptions as per usual. But if there were chaotic energies there and everything just felt a little bit weird, that is often, very often, an indication that the space was not set up correctly, that the space was not held in the best possible way. When you set up the space properly, nothing can interfere with that field. It's a safe space. And I want to dive into how to do this today, but I won't go into every single little detail of it. That would have to be done in a workshop because it's quite a lot of detail that can go into this. But I just want to give you a little brief explanation of what I'm really talking about here, so that you get a feeling for that and can apply it from now on in your practice. So it really wants to be a bit of a guide. And please know that I'm not saying I'm the best person to learn from and that I know everything. I don't. I've learned this the hard way. I've learned that if I don't hold my space in the right way, that then I don't get the results that I'm looking for. And I also cannot provide a safe space for people to open up in. So when I create my spaces, I want people to open up. I want people to feel safe. I want them to have the best possible outcome for their healing journey, for their evolution in that space. So therefore, I have to pay attention to that creation of this field. And it is a field that you create as you offer something in a one-to-one or in a group scenario. So, holding space is not constant monitoring, fixing, rescuing, or controlling that space or in that space. That is not what it is. As space holders, we are often in tune with the environment that we are in because we're empathic. We can feel energies. Not all of us can, but most of us are kind of that way inclined. And some people mistake space holding with controlling, with scanning the energy field all of the time while they're having the workshop or the course going. That is not space holding. I come to that later. We'll go into that later, but I just want to say that's not what space holding is. Holding space is also not energetic hypervigilance or self-sacrifice. It is not leaving yourself at the door, although as you offer something, you don't want to bring all of your problems into that space necessarily, although you cannot really help it because it's in your field and you carry that as an energetic frequency with you all the time. You cannot stop that. But you don't want to necessarily wallow in that while holding space either. That wouldn't be the greatest potential of your offering. So if you're not feeling great, if you are having a physical symptom or something going on with you, it would not be professional then to go into a space holding activity because you would have to look after yourself first. If you're not fully sustained and looked after, how can you hold space for somebody else in their healing journey? So there's a disconnect there. Can you feel that? So that's not space holding either. And space holding is also not being on the entire time. And this is often what people think it is, like scanning that environment all of the time, being on, being hypervigilant. That's another way for it, right? So all of those things are not space holding. What space holding is, it's a relational field you enter, or you first create that and then you enter it. It's not a task you perform. It's something you create. So, as you set an intention, as you are in presence, as you are coherent in yourself, that creates a geometry, and it's in direct proportion of how much of each of these you are capable of holding in your field. So, can you hold an intention? Can you be in presence for a length of time? Can you be coherent for a length of time? You haven't got to be perfect in this, but there has to be a level of all three in order to create a strong field of intention and healing. It's like a muscle. If you use this often, the more you use it, the more it strengthens and the more coherent it becomes as well. So it becomes stronger as you go, and you'll notice that. You will feel that as well. This creation of the field shapes the outcome long before any words are spoken in that space. And this is important, right? This field shapes the outcome of what you're producing in this field. And if that field is not paid attention to, it's still a field, but it's very wobbly and wide open to anything and everything. And that is where the chaos and the influence of unwanted visitors in any shape or form can actually happen, because there's an open door. And that's what we want to make sure we don't have when we are offering healing, and we want people to open up and be vulnerable in. So, now there is 3 steps to holding space. They're very simple. they can be elaborated on. So you can put as much attention to detail into this as you like, but there are only 3 steps. Now, the first step is the opening. That is setting an intention and being aware that that intention setting creates a geometry behind it. Something you can't see, but that is present. So, intention is not a thought. It's an energetic architecture. And if the stronger your intention is, and the more present you are as you are setting that intention, the stronger the geometry and the architecture behind that intention. So what you name, what you call in, what you orient towards becomes the shape of that space. So your own field influences the sacred space you create because you cannot separate yourself from that. This is why it's important that you are in coherence, you are in integrity, you're not martyring yourself, so you're good in yourself when you hold space. And what you say, what you intend, what you put into that space is in integrity as well. If there's any discrepancies, if there's any lies, if there's any malignant thoughts or anything like that, that field is not a great field. That field will not be safe for people, and people will feel that. This is a frequency that can be picked up. So, obviously most of us, when we are healers and facilitators, we want people to have the best experience in that space, right? So we would not go in with a malignant thought. We would go in with the highest possible potential of thoughts or intentions that we can set. So it's very important that you are clear what you want this space to do. It's also very important that you have consent for what you are asking, what you are intending in that space. So for me, when I set a space up, I always ask for the highest good of every attendee. And that healing and transformation only happens where it is for the highest good of all. You cannot make healing happen when it's not for the highest good. Or when you do, it's against the natural law. So really you want the universe to take care of whether it is for the highest good or not. And it's not in that is not your responsibility, basically, but you intend that whatever happens for the highest good of all, right? So then whether the healing wants to happen or not, it is still for the highest good, if you see what I mean. That's what I'm usually asking. And also that everything that when you set a field up, that everything that you allow to enter this field also influences the field. So when you set that space up, you want to also have something like a, what do you want to call it? Like a ritual or something where you invite people in or you welcome them in that space. This is why you often see, like in shamanic courses or practices, or in ceremonies generally, you often see people smudging people as they enter. That is what that is for. It's a welcoming into that space and making people that enter that space coherent with the field that's already been created. That's what that is for. So it's bringing it all into harmony. It's bringing it all into balance. And usually when people enter that field, they've been called into that field. They have a resonance with that field. They would not enter into that field otherwise. And I'm not saying that the space holding itself means that nothing bad is ever going to happen in a space that is held well. I'm not saying that. That can still happen. There can still be something really deep and dramatic that comes out in the ceremony, in this space. But it will still feel safe. There will be a level of safety that you feel within that happening, which is not the case when that space is not held properly. Going back to the setting up the space. Now, there's this opening, which is the first phase of setting up a space, which is the intention, and that creates the geometry of that space. Then we go into the middle. This is the field working for you. When you have put enough intention into your space, that is a field by itself that carries itself. It is that strong. So in that field, and this is the middle, what I call the middle. This is where your workshop will happen, where your course happens, where your event happens. This is the actual thing happening. This is not about control. In that space, you don't need to control anything. It is only about presence, not vigilance. You want to be present in that field. You want to know what's happening, but at the same time, you allow the space to move, to breathe. You respond, and that space responds to you, and it also reorganizes itself. So it's fluid within that field. So it's still movable. It's still working. It's not static, and it's not solid. It is a moving field. It responds to everything that happens within it, right? And your role in that middle bit, is to stay anchored, embodied, and responsive, not watchful. You're not watching out. You are just the coherent anchor of the field, because that field came from you. You are the anchor of that field. And when you do the intention properly, you already set that anchoring in motion, and that will stay there. It will stay put while the event is happening. You don't have to do much there. That is doing it by itself. That field remembers your intention that you set in the first place. Right? That's the middle. And then the last one, the third phase of holding space, is the closing. So the closing is as important as the opening, because that is you finishing up what you've started. If you open a field and you don't close it, it will hang on and hold on to your energy field. This is a leak of energy in the future if you don't close it, right? So it draws your energy out. It doesn't just close. So you have to close it yourself. You have to be mindful to close that field that you opened, if you want to. You're right. Some fields need to stay there for several days, weeks, months, years sometimes. That is wanted, but they need to be closed. Once that time is over, that something wants to happen in, you want to close the field again. And usually we do that as a sealing with gratitude. So we say thank you for that space to hold us in this way. So it is really vital to know that is exactly as important as opening the field. It's the same importance. And usually the gratitude is a lovely frequency to seal what has been happening in that field, what has occurred in that field. And it ripples out into the future then as well in a positive way. So the naming of the completion is important. Sometimes it's important to actually have the attendees witness you closing that field, so that their nervous system can release what's been absorbed in that field and knows that there's an end now. But also for your system, for your energetic system, it's important to know that the space is now released, that this thing, whatever you've done, is now finished. That is what this is for, right? And it therefore then is a clear close and prevents any energetic leakage or exhaustion that might occur when you don't close the space intentionally. That's how important it is. So you can create a space with breath alone. You don't even need words. You can use your breath. Now, that's a little bit advanced, I would say, but it's possible. So as you use breath, you can bring yourself into coherence. The breath is a wonderful anchor in itself. It can bring your system into coherence. So if you breathe before you set your intention, you are bringing yourself into a really coherent state in the first place, which is very helpful. So for example, you can anchor in the coherence with that breath, so it stabilizes the field slightly. Also, because usually in a field like that, there's a lot of emotions that are usually coming up, a lot of energy that's swirling in the space, and the breath in the beginning brings the coherence in. So it also can be the end as well. It can be used at the end as well. So one of the breaths that you could use is an inhale for 4, a hold for 4, an exhale of 8, and another pause for 4. And repeating that 3 times is enough to bring your field into coherence. You could do this once with me. So let's take this breath together. Let's inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold, 3, 2, 1, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and pause, 2, 3, 4. Now repeat that 2 more times, and this is when your system is kind of coherent. So the breath can help you come into coherence. If you don't know what else to do to get into coherence, if this is still quite new to you, the breath can actually help you get into the coherence. And that can help you in any other way, shape, or form as well. It doesn't have to be around holding space. You know, when you want to be in harmony, when you want to create heart-mind coherence, the breath is a wonderful tool and anchor to get into that space. And here it helps you to get your system, your field, your body field, your aura into coherence in the first place. And then you can create a ritual that you do to create that space. That ritual is very unique. So everybody does it slightly differently, and that's wanted because that brings your energy into that field. Your energy is already in that field because you are the one that creates it. But, you know, whatever you're doing with intention is amplifying that field. And the longer you take, the more intense your intention, I want to say, it's not the length of time that you spend. The intention, the strength of your intention and the power of your presence with that intention creates the volume of that field, so to speak. So you can be really, if you are really coherent and really present, your intention is amplified, is really big and strong, and creates a strong geometry of that field that you're holding. Now, some use a prayer to set this in motion. Some use smudging and a prayer. You can use other tools. You can set up an altar in the middle of your space, which is also actually, when it's created within that setting up of the space, it is an anchor of the field as well. So this is a physical expression of that geometry that you're creating. If you do it at the start, when you're setting up your field, you can use that altar in the center to anchor that field. And it will be exactly that. It will be the anchor for the field throughout the duration of your event. How to create an altar and what to say in a prayer. This would be things that I would go into in my workshop when you want to learn more about the details of the things that I'm talking about here. This would be too much today to go into. So I want to talk a little bit about the myth of constant vigilance, because many people that are holding space think that holding space is controlling that space. They are scanning the fields, but they're scanning it in order to control it. And that is a kind of a bit of a distorted way of doing this. And it often comes from a place of trauma, but we're going to speak about that in a minute. So vigilance, or the need to control that space, comes from a place of trauma. Yeah. So there is a part of you, if that's what you do, if that's your tendency, there is a part of you that doesn't trust that without your control, the space will be fine. Yeah, there is a trust issue here, and that trust issue comes usually from a trauma somewhere in the past, either in your current lifetime or in another lifetime, So, vigilance in this space holding capacity is not a leadership requirement. It's not required. It's the intention that counts. So when you are holding it all together in the field, it's exhausting. And what it also does, it stifles the energy slightly. So it will feel narrow for the attendees. If they're empathic enough to feel it, it will feel very narrow and sometimes a bit sticky. I don't know how else to describe that, but yeah, can you kind of tune into what I'm kind of saying? It's not allowing the field to breathe or the field to provide the magic. And you are stifling the field when you're controlling the field through vigilance. You are actually killing the magic in the room. That's what it essentially means, right? You're not trusting the universe to support you in your work. That is what this is kind of translating to, if you want to. So, you are not the God. You are just meant to be the gravity, the anchor. So you are embodying the anchor in that space. You are the anchor to that space. So as long as you are grounded and in coherence and in presence, that field will not diminish. So it's about you in that space, not what happens in the space. You are the anchor. If you're good, if you are steady, the field will be steady. And also, even if you were to wobble a little bit in that field, if it's created in coherence and strength, that field will carry you. So even if you wobble in it, that field has a memory and it will stay put until you release it again, which is why that release is so important at the end, but that closing of the field is so important at the end, because it waits for it. Otherwise, it's going to continue and it's becoming an energy leak for you. So, when you are anchored, that field organizes around you. And it stays like that as well. But even if you slightly wobble in that field, it still holds you too, if you set it up this way, right? And mostly when you do that, it automatically is a little bit like that. It's a shield and a protection for you as well as all the attendees that you've got. Right. So, the geometry is based on trust. So you are creating with intention. You're creating that field with intention. And then you give it over to the universe. So that intention then becomes trust in the universe to hold that field for you. Right? You set the intention, you build that field that has a coherence that stays there. And then the universe will hold that for you. That's how I kind of translate that again. So the trust is not a passive one, though. It's an active field alignment. So by setting your intention and then letting it go, letting it be, you're trusting. And that is, again, an alignment. It's a coherence. I hope that makes sense in some shape or form. So when you trust that space, the space trusts you back. And this is the same with the universe. If you trust the universe trusts you back. So there's a communication happening with you in that space. So the space is as fluid as you are in all the ways. So if you're controlling that space, that space feels really rigid. If you're not controlling that space, if you're letting it breathe and you've set the space up, but then let it breathe, it will also feel very fluid, right? So it's a mirror to you, yeah. So what you are bringing into that field will also then influence everything that happens in it. If you are coming in and trusting, that trust is also rippling out to the attendees. They will trust that field too. They will feel that they can trust. They are safe in this space. That's what they're feeling. That's what they're picking up on. And they will also feel the coherence. The coherence is kind of a clarity in the field. There is no fog. There is no, no buzz in the. It's like a clear, coherent field. I don't know how else to describe that. I hope that makes sense. So when you trust that space, you're then also opening the door to deeper work taking place and being less effort as well. Because the universe is working with you. The space is working with you, right? If you're trying to control it, you're kind of almost fighting that space a little bit. But if you can allow it to be and to breathe and to move with you, it will amplify the actual depth of that work that happens in that space, which is beautiful, by the way. This is where the magic really happens. When you can allow that to happen, the magic in the room is amplified, and you will be amazed what happens as well. So it is not about then your skills are tools that you can use, but there is still the wonderful magic of the universe that puts synchronicities in place that you could have never anticipated by yourself or orchestrated by yourself. And you will notice that when you have sharing going on in the group, you will notice that the magic just happens, and it's awe-inspiring. I still to this day, I have so many moments when participants say how they feel and that one word I used, or how, another person that shared something in the group was so potent for them because of something that just happened in their lives. So it's a wonderful thing when the universe works with you, and you can just trust it all, that it does what it's set out to do, if you set it up in the right way. So I invite you to check if you are a space holder or facilitator in any which way, even if it's a one-to-one or in a group or in any other capacity. I invite you to notice where you overhold a space instead of align with it, because that's what you want to do. You just want to align yourself with that field that you're creating and work in harmony with it. So you are flowing with the river of that energy that's in that field for the duration of your event. So, as a kind of a closing here in how to hold space, I might say a few more things, but how to hold space, I want you to know that holding space is not a skill. It is a state. It's a coherent state, or not coherent, because if you're not coherent, then that field that you create might not be coherent either. It is a mirror to you, right? So that's how much responsibility you hold when you are a space holder. Your energy will influence that field. So if you're not clear, that field will not be clear. So you want to prepare for that. You want to be ready for holding that space and prepare yourself to be clear and ready to hold it. And when you enter it with intention, the field remembers even when you forget. The field remembers what it was set up to do, what it was set up to be, because it's a state. So I invite you to have another deep breath here and let that land in you. And if you're not a facilitator and you're still with me at this point, I invite you to notice that whenever you enter a field of somebody else, a facilitator that you are going to be attendee with, how they're holding that field, to be observant of that and notice what's happening there, because there is vast differences in the holding space capacity of facilitators. It's very unique. It's as unique as we all are, but you can definitely tell when somebody's done it with intention and proper, coherence in their field. You will notice the difference from that to somebody that has not paid attention to it at all. So I hope that this has given you a little bit of an awareness that, whatever you enter into, whether it's conversations, gatherings, even meals, circles, and any everyday moments that are important to you, you can actually create a field around that. You can hold an intention in that field. And remember that there's these 3 steps to it. It's always an opening. There's always a middle that you can trust, that you don't need to hold. You just being the anchor in. And then you're closing that field again. And only an intention will do that. You don't need tools to do that. You can just have the intention. But tools amplify it. Usually when we use tools, we manifest what we are wanting in our heads, or what we're intending. We're manifesting that, or we it's like an underscore for what we're doing, like in translation, so to speak. So again, there's a question here for you. Where in your life are you trying to hold instead of trusting the geometry already in place? Because everything we do has a geometry. So it doesn't always have to be holding space either. This goes back into how much do we trust life to support us? That's the basic question here. And if you do that, if you trust life to be on your side, to always be for you, not against you, nothing ever happens against you, even if it feels like that, life always happens for you. There is a gift in that. That situation, that event, that whatever it is, has a gift for you. Even if it feels crunchy, even if it's painful, even if it's whatever the emotion is that you're feeling through it, everything that happens to us in life is there to make us grow, is there to make us expand eventually. You might have a contraction first as a reaction to the thing, but eventually there might be an expansion from it because we've learned something. So look out for the gifts. Look out for the universe and life itself being on your side. Because if you do, life is going to prove that to you. If you believe that life is against you and everything is always happening to your detriment, that will be exactly the thing that you're manifesting in your life. If you believe that it's for you, life is on your side, it will exactly prove that to you as well. Whatever you believe is what you get. So, coming back around to the space holding again, space holding is not a doing, it is a state. And if you can learn to trust that your state is enough to hold that field, your space holding will be a level up. It will be amplified, and people will notice it. And I would love to hear if this made any sense to you, if you have any questions about this, and also if you're trying it out, what difference you felt in applying this. And in the meantime, I'm going to get to work on creating a workshop that will go into all the different aspects of holding space as a state, not as a doing. And in time, I will obviously tell you when that is, and when it's happening. I might even have an online version of that as well for those of you that are not in my immediate surroundings, that cannot take part in person, because I feel that that's such an important piece that is often so misunderstood and not even noticed as such, right? Many people that begin their journeys never learn that they're actually holding space when they're offering something. When you teach something, when you have a Pilates class that you teach or a yoga class, you are holding space. You are holding space for those people that come to you. Now, in certain circumstances, it's obviously more important that the space is held well. In others, not so much. Like if it's an exercise class, you might not need that space holding aspect too much. But if you're facilitating healing, especially if it's like breath work, deep breath work, or any other type of healing modality, you really want to set up that space properly so that it works in your favor. And if you come into the space and you rushing through everything, that will be in the geometry. That's what you set up the space to be like. There's a rushing in that field. That's what people will notice in the energy. If they are empaths, they will feel that. Right? So, how you enter a space makes a difference. How you finish something makes a difference. If you're not finishing something at all, if you're just switching off the lights, that is not a closing of a space. The space wants to be respected. And when you use a space, when it's not your space that you're going into to hold a space, you might also want to consider to cleanse the space afterwards, to not leave any remnants of the energy work you've actually done in that space. Because usually when we do like deep breath work or any sort of transformation in a space, there is residues of that in that space, in that field. So when we are closing that field, we're also taking care of the cleansing of that space that we've used. So I'm not meaning, that there's an energetic space and there is a physical space that the event happens in, and both need to be considered when you're closing the space and when you're opening it as well. Because when you enter a space that you're renting, you might have a lot of foreign energies swirling in the space that you want to get rid of first. Because everything that's in the space, if it's still there, when you start the process of intention setting, that will influence the field. So if you don't clear the space in the beginning, you have loads of other energies in there that are not even yours, but they are in the field because you haven't tidied up. So there is a level of responsibility and awareness that needs to be there when you're holding space, when you want to do it properly. And again, there's no judgment. If you have done it in a different way before and you were not aware of all these things, we have to start somewhere, right? You cannot do anything else but your best. If you don't know it, you don't know it. But now that you've listened to this podcast, you might now realize what you're doing, and you cannot unknow what you know. So I invite you to apply some of these things and see what difference it makes for your own space holding if you're that way inclined. Thank you for following me until here in this exploration of the space holding. It's very dear to my heart, and for me it's a very intuitive process, and I've done it for more than 20 years now. So I have come through this just as everybody else has. I've learned this from the beginning to the end. And I mean, I've, being the shaman, or haven't been the shaman in many other lifetimes, I kind of had that in my field already. I just had to remember it. And now this is just second nature to me. And once you know that process, it's just a muscle that you use over and over, and it becomes a very strong muscle. You can be really strong in your intention, and that field can become really strong for that reason too. So if you've practiced it a long time, it amplifies in energy and intensity over time, and that state becomes more coherent as time goes on. As you grow, as you clear your field, as you've tidied up your traumas because your system, obviously, if you carry a lot of trauma, that field will also have that in it. But that's okay, right? That's what the resonance is when you're drawing in people, when you magnetize people to you. Your field is what brings those people in, so that they're resonant with you, and therefore it's all fine. But obviously it's nice when you can clear out your cellar over time too. That makes you lighter, that makes the fields lighter that you create, and therefore also allows the healings that take place being deeper in the fields that you create, in the spaces that you hold. Good. I want to stop here now. I don't want to make it too long. Please let me know if you have any questions or have any comments on that, because I would really love to have a conversation about it as well. And I'm curious what unfolds from here. And in the meantime, if you're listening to this before Christmas, I wish you a wonderful Christmas time, and a restful time, a mindful time, a respectful time, but also a time of joy and love in your field. You can practice the space holding even there. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this journey inwards. May the whispers you heard today echo into your daily life, gently guiding, healing, and reminding you of who you truly are. If this episode stirred something in your heart, I invite you to follow, share, or leave a review. It helps the medicine reach those who need it most. And if you feel called to go deeper, connect with me. Until next time, stay rooted, stay open, and keep listening to the whispers from within.